This is Forging the Man with Keaton Wilson. The biggest thing I think that really drives us from a fulfilling life, especially in our 20s, it's hard to find purpose as a man, especially when you're young and dumb, like myself. I think the biggest thing that you can start doing is taking a risk. I think it's being honest with yourself, and even if you don't know where you're going or what you want, I think you can start taking a risk and start doing interesting things. Um, with your career, do you like where you're at? No? Okay. Well, you have relatively low responsibility. I'm not telling you to take stupid risk, like selling coke and gambling all your money away. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you to do interesting things. If anything, get a good story out of it. Get wisdom, get knowledge. One of the biggest things that I tell myself or ask myself when I see an opportunity in front of me is, will I regret not doing this? You speak to a lot of old timers, and they seem to regret decisions and chances they never made. At the end of the day, who cares if you look stupid or if it doesn't even plan out for you? If it doesn't pan out, then who cares? Move on to the next thing. And even if it doesn't pan out, maybe it led to a different opportunity that you wouldn't have seen unless you did that. I think that's a good mindset and way to look at life. It's kind of like a spider web, but it's not over analyzing it either. It's asking yourself or seeing something and just being like, that looks cool. I want to do that. Or I want to learn this and just doing it. It's crafting the time in your schedule to learn or to do that. Who cares if it's stupid? Who cares if you look dumb? The willingness to look a fool is a precursor of transformation. But you got to stop holding back and living in this comfort. That's what's wrong with men these days. That was what was wrong with me. I wasn't taking risk. I was living comfortable. I was avoiding emotions. I was avoiding conflict. I was a nice guy. Um, don't get nice guy confused with a good guy. Be respectful to others, love others. You know, be kind, but don't get walked on. And you don't have to fight every battle. Being mature is choosing those battles. If someone's just disrespectful to you and it's just not even worth the energy, just move on from them. You don't need them. But in saying that, taking the risk of starting conversations with people and putting yourself out there to potentially be disrespected, making connections. That's the biggest thing in career and business. I've been in business for most of my adult life. It's something I've kind of grown into. It's kind of ingrained in me. And the biggest the biggest factor for success that I've seen is your connections and your willingness to ask people questions, even if it's stupid, is building those relationships, the rapport. If you're cold calling, you're essentially taking a risk. You're calling this random person, off a lead sheet and building a relationship. You're not always selling something. You're putting yourself out there and being vulnerable. That's being taking a risk. It's scary to be vulnerable, especially as a man. And it's not there's being vulnerable is okay. Especially know who your audience is. You can't be vulnerable with everybody because they can try to exploit you. So really vet the people that you're willing to be vulnerable with, or just choose what you're okay with being vulnerable with. If I tell someone something, I always in my head think, okay, I'm telling this person something. I'm just gonna pretend like everybody knows this now. Do I still want to tell this person something? and sometimes you gotta take that risk. You just never know. And I think when you're taking risk is just being okay. Don't have expectations of where this risk is going to take you. You know, I'm a very charismatic person and energetic. You know, for the most part, I feel like I'm kind of golden retriever. And the way that I sink into my energy and let it flow the best is when I don't have expectations of a conversation. You know, I'm not going into certain conversations with an agenda. You know, sometimes you have to. I'm not saying that that's never not going to be a thing, but I feel like I'm always in my flow state when I just don't care. And that's the biggest thing. I feel like men in this generation with social media and society really feminizing young men is we're taking on attributes that aren't masculinity. It's not masculine. Just stop caring as much. You only have so many fucks to give in a day. You know, tell yourself, limit yourself. Okay, I have 5 fucks to give today. What do I want to give those to? And choose, prioritize. Like, okay, I want to care about this and I want to care about that. And I'm going to focus most of my energy on this and on that. And it's not saying that things that aren't on that priority list you can't give attention to. It's just knowing that, hey, I don't really care. I care about these things. If these other things pan out, awesome. But right now, I'm prioritizing this. And then you're going to see, you're going to see that people are more, people will respect you more for that because it's like, I don't hold so much power over this person. Don't let people hold power over you and don't let them live rent free in your head. I think taking a risk is a perfect way to kind of break that habit of allowing people to hold power over you, is just facing your fears, is doing cool things. Don't live your youth comfortable. Do hard things, even if it sucks, especially if it sucks. Because, like I said, you don't want to wait till you're older and then you're like, crap, I should have done that. Why didn't I do that? That's the worst thing. That is probably my biggest fear, is just not taking enough risk and not living an interesting life. I want to be an old papa one day, sitting on the porch drinking coffee, you know, maybe the wife's inside making cookies for the grandkids, you know, and I want to sit outside with my grandchildren and just telling them all these cool things that I did and all these scary things that I did. And it's just because when I seen an opportunity, I didn't say no. And I just want a preference. Taking risk and being stupid is two different things. And honestly, if you can't tell the difference, ask a trusted adult. I mean, preferably like your father, a mentor, and vet your mentors. You know, if your father is kind of living a trashy life and you don't want to model yourself after him, then I probably wouldn't take advice from him. Look at men in your life, and if you want to model yourself after them, you don't really have to come forward and just be like, "Hey, you want to be my mentor?" Just ask them questions. Stay connected. You have to pursue that relationship. And as a man, we are the pursuer. You know, people and things are not going to chase us. If it's important to us, pursue it. Don't chase. There's a difference in that. Chasing's weak. That's when, for instance, like a woman, like if you're pursuing a woman, there is kind of like a take and give kind of with the interaction. You know, I'm gonna chase her for a little bit, and then she's gonna chase me for a little bit. That's not really chasing. That's kind of just the pursuit. That's kind of like the dance. But chasing, and we've all fallen victim to it. Heck, I have. You know, it's just something. It's just something that you have to really monitor and have that self respect. Um, If you're chasing a woman that looks like you're giving and she's not giving back, that's that chase. There has to be that balance and that dance. That's where it's building. And and with women, take risk with women. You'll never. There's some incredible women out here, and you're just going to miss out on potentially. And don't have any expectations with these women. Just talk to a woman just to be around her feminine energy. There's women in my life that I know that I don't want to pursue anything, but being around their energy, their feminine energy, it just kind of gives you that boost. It's really hard to explain. I mean, energy theory, if that's even a term, but it's just energies. Polars attract and they complement. So take that risk. Start talking to a bunch of different women, and if you can't talk to women, there's all kinds of videos and on YouTube and and find mentors that are good with women. But take that risk. Educate yourself. I love to educate myself before taking risk. Now that's not always the case. You really got to take it case by case basis. But don't fall into the trap that I feel like a lot of men fall into. I fall into it all the time. I have to be self aware and check myself. There's going to be seasons in your life where you're going to be educating yourself, and that might be all you'll be doing. But then there's going to be a season to take action. You can educate yourself. That's fine, but don't over educate yourself to where you find yourself stuck and you're not able to take a risk. If you feel like you're getting to a point to where you don't know what decision to make because you're over analyzing and over educating, just do it. That's the biggest thing is just to act and to do. Start start small with risk. You don't have to do anything crazy, but it's I like to think when I'm building new habits and forming new character traits and whatever you want to call it, it's a muscle. I like to see things as muscles. Everything takes time and it takes nutrition, takes exercise, takes rest. Look at everything like that. Don't overwork yourself, especially at the beginning of it. Once you kind of get the resilience, then you can kind of push yourself a little harder. And by pushing yourself when you first start is just taking a step. Take one step, two steps, and work it like that. Every just risk equals growth. You won't be able to grow if you're not taking a risk. And that's why a lot of people who are comfortable and don't want to make a step ever have anything. They never have cool stories. They lose out on pivotal points in their life, and it's sad to see that. We've all been there. We've all done it. But there has to become a point in your life to where you're tired of being who you are, and you just got to make the step. That's it. Sometimes it's just not thinking and just making a step. You don't have to have and it's easier to recover from failure when you're younger than you are when you're older. Not saying you can't, because at the end of the day, men are capable of anything. But start young. Start making failures. There was something that I heard, and I'm gonna butcher it, but you'll get the gist of it. It was like something. If I told you it was going to take 8 failures before you succeed, how fast would you fail? That's a pretty cool thing to think about. If you were going to get success, if you were going to hit your goal, but it's going to take you 8 times to fail, and then that ninth time is where you get your success. How fast are you going to fail? Mistakes made now become wisdom later. When you're young, you're not tied down with kids or a mortgage or a career. Take risk. Grow a set of nuts. We don't have balls anymore. It's okay to have balls, people. Just try to be respectful and kind, as you find your balls. I feel like when I was trying to find my balls, it was just I was just being a dick sometimes. And you don't got to be a dick to find your balls. If anything, I think it makes it a little harder to find them. Be authentic in who you are when you're taking your risk. Don't act as in a person who you think you should act with what you want. If that makes sense. I think if you don't know who you are in an authentic manner, it's okay. First of all, have a little mercy on yourself. I feel like we're really tough on ourselves when it's unnecessary. There's always a time to be tough on yourself, but for the most part, be understanding with yourself, but don't use that as an excuse not to push yourself. Be understanding when you fall. I wouldn't say really comfort yourself, but just kind of talk with yourself. Work through it. Analyze why you fail, how you fail, and what you can do to not do that. That's a better way of dealing and pushing forward than just to beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. Have some respect for yourself. Start a podcast. I've started this podcast. It was a little uncomfortable to sit here on the mic and to talk to it. It's uncomfortable. But as I've done it more, it's cool and I enjoy doing it. I feel like it adds to my purpose as a man. Ri- Risk introduces you to pressure. Pressure is what builds men. It's okay to have a little pressure. Don't be afraid of pressure. Seek it out. Seek pressure out. If you feel like you don't have enough pressure in your life, maybe pick up a new hobby. Maybe try to learn something. Maybe try to learn the guitar and then put a little pressure on yourself. Give yourself a deadline. Okay, I want to learn how to play this song. I have 1 week to learn how to play this song, or 2 weeks to learn how to play this song. Put a little pressure on yourself and then take it serious. That's what's going to build you as a man, and that's what's going to progress you. And when you're taking these risks and you're making so much improvement, it's going to feel like you're not making any improvement at all, but you are. I had a conversation with someone the other night, and it was something that I needed to hear. I've been making a lot of changes in my life. I've been taking a lot of risk. I've been doing a lot of growth and self reflection, and I'm becoming a good man. But it's taking a lot of mistakes and trial and error, and that's okay. But it just I don't want to get too into the conversation because it was kind of personal. But just essentially, I wasn't seeing my successes as I should have been, and then this person had to remind me. It's like people are seeing your success, you're not seeing it, but people are noticing it. And someone brought up one of my habits and successes that they've noticed, brought it up to that person, and that person relayed it back to me, and it just made me think about it at a different way. It's like, okay, well, maybe I'm not a failure. Have people in your life like that can kind of ground you to reality. Because when you're making a lot of changes and risk in your life, and it's going to start off slow, and that's okay. And that's when you're really going to notice a lot of your successes is at the beginning because it is slow. But it's kind of like a snowball. Once you start doing that, and it's kind of routine and it's habit, that's just going to kind of go on in the background. And then you're gonna start making other changes, and then that's gonna kind of snowball. And then so you got like 3 or 4 snowballs. You're changing habits, and they're progressing, and they're getting better, and they're better and better while you're changing all these other things. But it's just gonna be normal to you because it's gonna be routine, and you're not gonna notice it. You're gonna be like, oh, why am I still here? Why am I still stuck? You kind of need grounding from, if that's from people, um, pictures, diaries, whatever you want to do to ground yourself. Find out what works for you, and just kind of see how much you've changed and how much you've improved. That's important to growth as well, is to see the growth. When you're starting a diet and you're trying to lose weight, you don't see the weight loss for a while, especially if you're really heavy set. I started losing a lot of weight, and at the beginning, like, I had a lot of weight to lose. So, like, it took me 6 months to see change, and I feel like it wasn't even really a lot of change. But, like, once I got close to like a year in, I could like really see it. And then I was packing on muscle, and then revealing muscle that I had under all that weight, and it's just like, wow, I'm starting to look good. I feel incredible. And so it's like and then after you start seeing that, like, as a real change, like, it feels like you change quick. Like, your body progresses a lot quicker. And that all stems from taking that risk. I was the most educated person on nutrition and diets, and over analyzing this and that, and just spent so much time researching, trying to find a shortcut or an easy way to do something, and that's just not the way to go about it. If you're asking yourself, what's the quickest way to get here? What's the easiest way to get here? You're doing it wrong. If you see yourself doing that, go ahead and do the long way. It doesn't matter. There's no get rich quick. It's such a small thing to actually do a shortcut and it's succeeding. It's like, why waste my time and energy trying to get that small margin when I can do the tried and true hard shit and get there like how everybody else does. I'd rather have those odds and use that extra brain power and energy on something else that I want to do or that just makes sense. Look at your brain and your energy levels on kind of like a video game, like, um stamina bar. You only get so much of that a day, so just chunk it out appropriately and optimize your usage of that stamina. It's kind of like what it means to be a man is just to kind of pick and choose and optimizing things on your journey. You're always going to have to do the hard journey, but you can kind of make the hard journey less hard. And that's what you're trying to do. That's what we're all trying to do, is not trying to get away from the discomfort. It's just trying to get some of that stamina back so I can use it for something else. And the only way that you can learn how to do that is by that pressure from taking risk. Get a new haircut. That's a cool risk. I mean, at the end of the day, it's hair. It's going to grow back. Get you a new haircut. That's a risk. That's going to build your confidence. Takes a little pressure. Change your style up a little bit. It doesn't matter what you have to do. Just step out of your comfort zone, man. You're not a child. 1 Corinthians 13:11. It's one of my favorite Bible verses. One of my favorite. St. Paul says, "When I was a child, I spoke like a child, thought like a child, reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways." Becoming a man means leaving behind immaturity, not just growing older, but growing up. And it's a process. Don't beat yourself up if you're not maturing at the level that you think you should be. And that's kind of when I was telling you before, don't have the expectations of the risk. take the risk, be in the present, learn from the present. Don't say, all right, I'm gonna make this change and it's gonna be a risk and this is where I'm gonna get from it. No, frame it as I'm gonna take this risk because it looks fun and I want to see what I can learn. Or I want to see where it takes me. Frame it like that. And then that's how you get the growth from it. And just kind of being observant of where you're at. Really enjoy the moment. It's kind of like with food. Ice cream tastes the best when you're eating it. I find I make good risk and I perform better in risk when I'm disciplined. Find small things that you can do to discipline yourself. You don't have to be a Marine and run 7 miles a day. Just figure out where you can add a little discipline in your life. And it's just kind of structuring your life to make better risk and then kind of performing a little bit better in that risk. You don't want to ever have to think about what you have to do or say. You kind of want that flow state. And the only way to kind of get in that flow state is by doing that thing a lot. If you want to get better at cold calling, the only way to do that is by cold calling. You're going to find things, and then it's going to say and to do on those cold calls. It's just going to be second nature. If you want to get better at communication with men or women, it's just kind of communicating with them and observing, not really having any expectations of the conversation. Take risk. Discipline yourself to where in those risks you can learn from them. And then your disciplines in your life translate over to everything you do. People can see the way that you live by the way that you act. For the most part, I don't I really don't have to. Sometimes I do. I get a little cocky. That's something I'm working on. It's not always attractive. I know. Sometimes it is though. If I'm trying to frame myself like that. But anyways, I digress. People don't know. I don't have to tell people, especially people that's been in my life, about the way that I'm living because they can see the way I'm living. I don't have to tell them. Sometimes I do because, like I said, I get a little cocky. It's not cool. Sometimes, sometimes it is. I don't care. Yeah, it's kind of cool. But people see the way that I live. They see the things that I'm doing. They've seen the change in my body. They see the change in my style. They see the change in my walk, my swag. Like, and this is just that's just the way that I am. I'm not putting any of this on. These are just these are big successes that have came from small successes that have came from discipline. The way that I am now, the way that I embody my energy, the way that I hold myself is not something that I have to fake because it's not fake. It's real. It's authentic. It's the way that I move. It's the way that I think and speak. And that comes from taking risk. You have to everything good comes from a risk. Immature men, I think I feel like this is kind of going off topic a little bit, but I think it's kind of good just to always kind of bring certain things up. I mean, at the end of the day, this podcast is about becoming a better man. Avoid, stop avoiding pain and start embracing growth. Immaturity is running from discomfort. It's quitting when it's hard. It numbs with distractions. You're ghosting people. you need to lean into the discomfort. Just feel it. Find find a safe place and just to kind of talk through your emotions and feel your emotions out. That's how you become, what is it called? Is it like a high EQ? Is that what they call it? Like emotional intelligence. Just kind of leaning into that, those uncomfortable feelings and circumstances and decisions. Don't think too much into it, but just kind of feel it. Feel your emotions don't make sense. Don't try to make sense out of your emotions because that's just not that's just not how that works. Emotions and logic are, they never intersect, but they're parallel. Think about it like that. And the only way to not be an emotional person, and because it's, being vulnerable is attractive. The courage and the openness and the authenticity to be vulnerable, it's very attractive to people. Now what's not attractive to people is, I don't how do I want to say it? It's just you not being able to control those emotions. It's your outburst. It's you not handling your emotions in a mature manner, and it's just outbursting and making other people responsible for your emotions and having them and you thinking they should fix your emotions. That's what's that's what's icky. That's what people don't like. But lean into uncomfortable emotions and challenges. Face challenges. Take risk. Face your fears. Admit your fears, but don't let it run the show. Have hard conversations instead of ghosting. Go to therapy instead of pretending that you're fine. Start working these things out. The younger you start, the better you'll be. And always be open to new ideas and thinking patterns. Don't get stubborn in your ways. There's nothing more unattractive than someone that's so stubborn and so arrogant in their ways. I don't want to have a conversation with them. The person who thinks they're always right. That's just so, it's like I don't like that. Even if I do think that I'm right and I've researched it and I know that I'm right, I still am open to hearing this person's side and their arguments, because even though that say that I am 100% right on this, maybe it gives me a different viewing of the situation, and that can maybe well round it a little bit better, if that makes sense. So just always be open to hearing other people, but don't think that you have to think as they do. Another thing to give a risk to is don't shut yourself off with love. Love is love is probably the biggest gamble and risk in life. It's not Love is not a feeling. I feel like we think a lot of times that love is an emotion, it's a feeling. Love is not. Love is a decision. Love is sacrificial. True love, that is. I like to kind of tie that into Jesus Christ. Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Sacrificial love. That's manhood. Immaturity in that loves to get validation, attention, sex. That's immature. Mature kind of looks like mature. Immaturity is get love. Maturity is give love, commitment, presence, sacrifice. To love someone is to give something. So give a piece of yourself to people. Give a genuine, authentic piece of yourself. Don't give too much of yourself. to where it takes from you, but don't be afraid to give to other people. And that's the biggest risk you'll ever take in your life, is to love someone. Don't avoid the potential heartbreaks that kind of come from love. That's just the way that it goes. Because you can miss out on so many good parts of life by withholding love. You should just love everyone. Don't have any expectations with your love. I think that's where we go wrong. Is when we love something or someone, we can form expectations. Just love. You don't have to gain anything. Like I said, immature love is getting. What can I get from this? Mature love is giving. We all can improve in that. We're not perfect. Lord knows. If I was perfect, I would have been hung up on the cross. I would have died for y'all. But I'm not. I'm here on this podcast talking to a mic with a little fuzzy foam cover over it, looking at my computer screen. That's what I'm doing right now. But I'm giving love by giving some advice that whether someone thinks it's right or if it's wrong, I don't really care. It's the way that I live my life, and it's authentic. Everything that I say is authentic. Never claimed it was true, never claimed it was wrong. It's just the way that I operate. It's the way that I love. And the beautiful thing about it is you can take good things that I say and encompass them and add it to your routine, and leave what you don't like. That's the beautiful thing about being a man, is taking bits and pieces from other people, the good things that you like. Hey, I like the way that this guy does this. I like the way this guy says this or thinks this. And it's just taking these little bits and pieces from people and feeding them into your mind and into your character, informing yourself, and it's evolving and it's growing. It's always finding a better way to operate. That's how you are authentic to yourself, especially in your growth. But it's having those you'll never change really certain aspects of yourself. I feel like our personalities are kind of gifted to us from God, because you can look at a kid when they're like 2 years old and they'll act a certain way. And yeah, sure, they may mature as they get older and become a teenager and an adult, but they kind of have that underlining personality. That's just like I feel like with my personality, humor. Humor is a way that I love people. It's how I give to people, is humor. Now, some of my humor can be immature. I need to clean it up a little bit. I know. I'm working on it. It's okay. We'll figure it out. I can clean up my language a little bit. But that's how I give love, is by humor, is making people laugh, getting out of themselves. Everybody's just so in their problems, and giving them a laugh. And it's risky, because you never know if you'll offend somebody. But hey, you have to take the risk to grow. Don't be afraid to love people. Find out what your personality is, and use it, especially to do God's work here on earth, because that's what we're called to do. If you're a Christian, I think one of the most masculine things that you can do as a man is delay instant gratification. And what's more masculine than building yourself for the kingdom to come, the kingdom of heaven. We're molding ourselves right now to be men of God and trusting in God and allowing the Holy Spirit to transform us, not the world to conform us, and preparing ourselves for heaven. We're just passing by. At the end of the day, I'm going to die. I'm going to die one day. I'm going to leave this earth. I don't want to go back to it as dust. But if the Lord sees fit and has mercy on me, I'm going to go to heaven. And that's where I'm going to be for eternity. That's masculine, is knowing that. And not living for this world, live for the kingdom. But you have to take a risk. You have to look stupid. You have to. You can't be afraid of what people are going to think or say. That's what holds us back. That's that fear. But I feel like sometimes we use. A lot of people have a fear of success, and it's a wild thing to hear, especially if it's the first time you're hearing it. But sometimes we don't act because we're afraid of, well, I'm used to things not working out. What if I do this and it does work out? What do I do then? I've never been in this situation. That's okay. Navigate it. Lean into that discomfort. Don't self sabotage. Love yourself. Have respect for yourself. Do things you want to do. Take risks that you want to take. Don't take risks for others or for attention and validation. I mean, you're going to do it. We all do it. We're humans. And being a man is knowing that you're a human and that you are making mistakes, but it's just having mercy on yourself and forgiving yourself and then doing better moving forward. That's the battle. That's the balance. But just to kind of sum it up, just a quick summary, take risk. The younger you are, the better. Just start doing things you want to do, learn things you want to learn. If you want to make a podcast, make a podcast. If you want to be an artist, be an artist. You want to take a kickboxing class, do that. You want to ask out that pretty girl you work with, go ask her out. I don't know. You know the risks that you need to make. Be self aware, be self reflective, be respectful to others. Don't be afraid to love. That's the biggest risk, is loving. Give your love in a healthy manner. Don't have any expectations with that. When you love something, just do it to love it. If you have any expectations from your love, it's not love. Just love to love, man. That's what's going to fulfill you. That's what's going to drive you. And that's what life's about, is just giving love. But don't get that mistaken with that you have to be weak. Loving is not weak. Being weak is having no boundaries and not sticking up for yourself. You have to love yourself too, man. You gotta love yourself, and loving yourself is to show people how to love you. And if people don't want to love you, you can still love them, maybe from a distance. You gotta do what's best for you too. You gotta give yourself stuff. You gotta give yourself love. Take risk. Don't be afraid. You get one life and you get one story. What do you want to tell your grandkids when you're old? Drinking coffee out on the porch. Maybe it's raining, it's thundering. You got the wife in the kitchen, like I said, making cookies. What do you want to tell your grandkids? It's a real question. Ask yourself that. How do I want my grandkids to perceive me? Do I want them to think that, oh, grandpa's so safe and he never really did anything with his life? If that's what you want to do, that's okay. Do that. I'm not going to hate another man for living a life that they want to live. If that's truly what you want, is to not have a cool story and not take risk, then do it. I'm not going to hate you for that, honestly, because I will respect you a lot for that, for owning that's what you want and doing what you want. I respect that in a man. But if you want a story, if you want wisdom, if you want growth, if you want to be the best man that you could be, you got to start acting. You can educate yourself, but don't overeducate to where you don't make steps, where you don't make moves. You got to make moves, because if you don't move, nothing moves. Take risk. Don't be a pussy. Get your balls, dude. I believe that's all for this one. You know what you need to do. Start small, make those steps. I believe in you. Have a great week. And just keep killing it. Forgive yourself. Pick yourself back up. Stop self sabotaging. And yeah, just keep killing it.